Today we're doing day 1 of 7.5 and we're going to be talking about systems of inequalities. So we're still going to be looking at inequalities, but the only difference is now we're going to see something like y is greater than 2x plus 6 and y is less than or equal to negative 3x minus 8. So the systems that we look at are going to have inequality symbols. So let's start with this first example. The system of inequality is going to be y is less than negative x plus 1 and y is less than or equal to 2x plus 3. So this is going to be the same rules. So because we have an inequality, we're going to have shading in our graph. And just like with systems of equations, we're looking for an overlap of the point. Now we're looking for an overlap of shading. So we're going to do this the same way that we would graph a normal line. So I'm going to do this one here in blue. So my b is 1 and my slope is negative 1. So I'm going to graph this. I'm going to go up 1, make my point, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. I can go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. Now remember when we graph these, if you have greater than or less than, you are going to have a dashed line. If you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you're going to have a solid line. So because here I have just less than, I'm going to make a dashed line. And I'm going to stop there for now. I'm going to graph the second one in black. So my b is 3, my slope is 2. So I'm going to go up 3, make my point. Then from there, again, you can think of this as 2 over 1. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. I can go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Because I have that less than or equal sign, I'm going to have a solid line. So through these points, I'm going to make my solid line. So now remember, when we have inequalities, we're going to have shading. So now I'm going to do the shading. So remember, you always pick the point 0, 0 if it's not on there. So I'm going to go back to this equation and I'm going to use 0, 0. So I'm going to say 0 is less than negative, plug in 0, plus 1. Now, 0 can never be negative, so this is just going to be 0 is less than 0 plus 1. 0 is less than 1, which is true. So if I'm looking at this blue line, I want to shade where 0, 0 is, which is below it. So I'm going to shade everything where 0, 0 is, so everything underneath it. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the second line. Again, I'm going to pick 0, 0. So I have 0 is less than or equal to 2 times 0 plus 3. So 0 is less than or equal to 0 plus 3. So 0 is less than or equal to 3. That again is a true statement, so I need to shade where 0, 0 is. 0, 0 is right here, so I need to shade everything to the right of it. So now I'm just looking for the overlap. So right in here, new color, because all of these ordered pairs in here make both inequalities true. Let me say that one more time. Everything that's in the red, all of these ordered pairs, make both of these inequalities true. That's what you're looking for. Okay, let's try this system. So I'm going to do the top one in red. So I'm going to rewrite this as x minus y is less than negative 1. So in order to graph, remember it has to be in slope-intercept form. Right now this is in standard form. So I need to get y alone. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. And you get negative y is less than negative x plus negative 1. There's actually a negative 1 here, so I need to divide everything by negative 1. So I get y. Now remember, when you divide or multiply by a negative, your sign flips. So I get y is greater than x plus 1. So let's go ahead and graph that. So I'm going to go up to 1. My b is 1, so then I'm going to use my slope of 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. I can go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Now I'm going to look at my symbol. It's just greater than. So I'm going to use a dashed line to go through my points. And now I'm going to graph the second one. So the second one says x minus y is greater than. Alright, go ahead and try to rearrange that on your own and then graph it, and then you can compare your answer to mine. Okay, you should have gotten y is less than x plus 3. And then your b is negative 3, or plus negative 3, so your b is negative 3 and your slope is 1. So when you graphed it, it should look something like this, and again, you should have a dotted line. Now notice our slopes are the same, so we have parallel lines. We still need to graph it because it's all going to depend on these inequality signs, whether we have a solution or we don't. So remember, always pick 0, 0, plug them into both inequalities and see if there's any overlap. So go ahead and try that right now on your own. Alright, so when I plugged them in, I got 0 is greater than negative 1 for this red inequality, which is false. And for this blue one, I got 0 is less than negative 3, which is also false. So when I go to shade them, since it's false, I want to shade opposite of where 0, 0 is. And 0, 0 is right here, my origin. So for the red one, I'm going to shade above it. And my blue one, I'm going to shade below it. Since there's no overlap, my answer is no solution. Let's try this systems of inequalities, and I want you to try to graph this one with a partner, someone sitting near you. If you want, you can try it on your own. So here's your system, and I'm going to give you a little clue. Remember, for this top one, you should be thinking Vux, V-U-X. And for this bottom one, you should be thinking Hoy, H-O-Y. So go ahead and try to solve this on your own, and then in a few minutes, you can compare your answer to mine. So I'm going to do this top one in blue. I should have a vertical line with an undefined slope, and this is x equals. So at x, I'm going to go to 5, which is right here. I can make my point at 5. This is showing me that I need a dotted line. So down that point, I'm going to make a dotted line. I'm going to do this one in black. So Hoy, so at y, I'm looking for 4. So I'm going to go up 4. And this one is showing me less than or equal to, so I should have a solid line. So I'm going to make this straight through. So now I need to figure out my shading. I'm going to pick 0, 0 for both. So I get 0 is greater than 5, which is false. So for this blue problem, I'm going to shade where 0, 0 is not. So I'm going to shade, oops, hold on. Started shading in the wrong area. For this blue one, I am going to shade to the right of it. And for this black one, I get 0 is less than or equal to 4, which is also false. So I'm going to shade above that line. I'm looking for the overlap, which is just in this corner. So this one I'm going to darken in or make a separate color. So that is my answer right there. So let's just write down the steps that you're going to have to take in order to solve these problems. The first thing that you need to do is graph both of your inequalities. And remember, greater than or less than, dashed line, greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Your second step is going to be to plug in 0, 0, and solve. And then make sure after you plug in that you shade. So remember, a true statement is where you want to shade where 0, 0 is. For a false, shade opposite. Finally, make sure you darken in the overlap. Your homework is going to be day 10. So you guys can go ahead and get started on that. And it's going to be on it's going to start on page 396. You need to use graph paper. You must use your graph paper. So you have the rest of class to get started.